Well, today we're going to build another Estes rocket kit. This is called the 3 Bandits, and you can get it at Hobby Lobby, and it costs $16. So we'll try to build one of the rockets today. Our package. So this is one small rocket, a green one. This is the fuselage or the body tube. And we should have 3 of these. A set of instructions. Kind of go through and make sure we have everything we need. Have a sheet of decals. Now, you can decorate the rocket however you want. You can paint it however you want. It will not impact the flight characteristics of the rocket. You can put 4H stickers on it, whatever you want to do. Now, our second rocket. And our third rocket. I don't see anything else in the package. So let's just start with the center one. The rocket has everything in it. I see the parachute. So when you cut into the package, make sure you don't cut the parachute. There's our parachute. And we have the pieces of the rocket. Now you can see on our instructions we have 2 halves of the what they call the fin can. We have our nose cone, we have the shock cord, we have the launch lug, we have this part that goes into, glues into the nose cone, and then we have 2 engine caps right there. So we have everything that we need to build the first rocket. So what it says we need to do is assemble the fin mount, or what we call a fin can. So we're going to use glue to glue the fin can together. Get you some good plastic cement or glue. And it says to glue along the edges of the 1/2 of the fin can, and then hold it tightly together until it sets. You don't need to put too much glue. But you want to make sure you put enough to make sure it glues together. You can use a real thin cement, liquid cement that you can get at Hobby Lobby as well. And then we glue the 2 pieces together. And I should have done a test fit before I actually glued them together, but it seemed to go real good. So that's a good habit to get into, is do a test fit first before you glue the pieces together. So I'm just going to kind of hold them here for just a minute. Again, part of building a model rocket is to be patient. And this is one of those times. Okay, as we let the fin can dry, we'll proceed on with our instructions. Next, it says attach the launch lug to the fin can. This is our launch lug, and this is what the launch rod, goes through and allows the rocket to start off straight when it first takes off. And there's a little bumps on the tin can here that where the launch lug will attach, just like that. So again, doing our test fit first. There are different types of glue that you can buy. There's some that don't have the solvent in it, it doesn't smell. But when you're building a model rocket, you want the best glue that you have, because there are a lot of forces going on when you build when you build the rocket, it launches. So you want to make sure you get good quality glue. So we're going to do that. We need to put a little bit of glue here as well. So. So that's in place. I'm just going to kind of press down and hold it for a minute until the glue sets. Okay, now that we have our launch lug glued in place, we're going to now, the instructions say, attach to the body tube. So this is our body tube, also known as our fuselage. And we're going to run a bead of glue inside the body tube. And be kind of generous with this part, because this is where the thrust structure, or the tin can along with the motor inside it, this is where all the forces are from the motor are transferred into the body tube at this point. So make sure you put a good amount of glue in there. And then it says to slide this in place, just like so, and kind of twist it a little bit, kind of get that glue spread around real good. And there you go, just like that. Now we'll let that dry for a little bit. And while we're letting our fuselage and thrust structure dry, we're going to work on our nose cone. And this is a little eyelet that's going to get glued into the nose cone. And this is where our shock cord and our parachute will attach. It's always good to have paper towels or something when you're using like this ton of tube glue, because the tube kind of pressurizes a little bit when you squeeze on it, and it will continue to ooze out. And so it's always good to have a paper towel or something for this to drip on. So we're going to apply a bead of glue inside our nose cone. Like so. We're going to take our eyelet and then put that into the nose cone. Again, kind of twisting it a little bit to kind of spread the glue around. And then we'll let that dry. Going to kind of press it in for a little bit and hold it for a minute. Make sure there's not much glue on the outside, because this is what inserts to the body tube, and you don't want any kind of protrusions or dried glue sticking out that you would have to remove later. So it's good to, the quality of your work is important. Okay, we'll let that set up for a little bit. Next, it says to insert the shock cord. And we have on the front of the instructions, you have these 3 triangular shaped patterns. And the shock cord will mount into this pattern here. So one pattern goes to each of the 3 rockets. And I brought some Elmer's glue all white, just regular white glue, because we'll be gluing the paper together, so we don't need the plastic cement for that. Now, if you don't want to cut your instructions, you can always do a photocopy and then cut the pattern out of that, but we're just going to go ahead and cut the pattern out of these instructions. You can use scissors, you can use the X-Acto knife, whichever one you prefer. So here we have our shot cord pattern, and what you're going to do is basically we're going to fold the pattern onto the shot cord like this and glue it all together. So I'm going to get my glue. And you want to be fairly liberal with this. Make sure you get plenty of glue in here. I also like to have a damp sponge around. Anytime you're working with wood glue, it's nice to have that damp sponge to get the glue off your fingers. Now, when you install the shop cord, you kind of want to do it at a slight angle, and you put it in the second section. And so when you fold the shot cord over, it will lay next to the two will lay next to three, if that makes any sense. So what we're going to do is fold it here, 1 over 2, like that. It's going to kind of ooze the glue out a little, pretty good. Like so. And then we're going to go 2 over 3. Again, the shot cord laying down next to the shot cord in section 3. That way it doesn't bulge out too much and it's not too thick. And kind of rub that glue around, get it nice and even, no air bubbles. Just like so. There you go. Now then, this is the instructions next say to insert this into the fuselage of the rocket. What I'm going to do is kind of make it kind of curved like that to kind of match the body line of the fuselage. And I'm going to put still a little bit kind of gooey. Probably needs to dry a little bit more. But we're going to put a good amount of glue on here. Just like so. Good dollop of glue. And you try to get it as far in there as you possibly can. Now I have fat fingers on this little bitty tube, so we'll see how it works. I think what I'm going to have to do, since it's sticking to my finger, I have to get something to push that down in there with. Get it going back the right direction. There's a lot of glue on here. And get that down far in there as you can. And then you might want to hold it in place for a minute and kind of support the body tube with one finger, your thumb, and press up with your pinky finger and let it hold there for about a minute until the glue sets. Okay, now that we have our shot cord glued into the fuselage of the rocket, we'll proceed with now the recovery system, which is the parachute. Again, try not to cut your parachute when you use the X-Acto knife. fold it. So here we have all the shot cords of the parachute. So now we just kind of pull them up in order. The center cord always in the center. Set them on your finger like that, and then pull the parachute taut, like so. Try to make sure all the lines are the ends of the parachute lines are even. So you can see the ends of the parachute is basically even like that. Double check. Yeah. This one appears to have a little string that's a little bit longer than the other one. There we go. So the parachute's all even. So now we're going to take our lines. So kind of square them off a little bit. And we're going to run this through the nose cone of the rocket, like so. Kind of make a big loop like that, and then take the parachute and run it through the loop like that. Pull it through, and then kind of pull all the wires of the shot cord, the lines to where it's all even, like so. Just like that. And it looks really good. Really good. And I'm going to put just a little dab of glue on here. Just a small dab. Kind of rub it in a little bit. And again, pull it tight. Kind of rub the glue in a little bit. Just like that. There we go. All right, now we have our parachute done. Now next we have to install our shot cord, which is this one here. Again, we run it through the eyelet of the nose cone. And just tie a double knot. Pull it tight, and then just like so. Make sure it's tight. And then we're going to add just a little bit of glue on the shot cord as well. And just kind of rub that in there. And when that dries, that will help keep the shot cord from coming loose. Now you can see I've got a fair amount of shot cord remaining. I'm going to cut that off so it will not interfere with the nose cone when you try to put it into the fuselage of the rocket. So we don't want that to happen. So I'm going to cut it off, leaving about 1/4 of an inch remaining. like so. All right, so now that we have basically the rocket completed, now we can insert the parachute and shock cord into the fuselage, and we can prepare for launch. So this is a pretty small parachute. We'll fold it just like the others, kind of square it off like so. And we'll begin to fold the parachute in. Just like this. One more time. And then again, I'm going to take the shroud lines, take about halfway up or in the middle, and fold those in like so, and just kind of roll them in until you have a nice little triangle like that, and then fold that over. Just kind of roll it in. And you have a nice little package like that. So before we put the parachute in, I'm going to insert a little wadding into the rocket. Again, the wadding is flame retardant, and it will keep the parachute from melting from the ejection charge of the motor, and also acts like kind of like a piston. When the ejection happens from the motor, it kind of pressurizes the tube, and then it shoves the parachute and nose cone out. And I'm going to use a pencil to push it all the way down in there, because it is a small rocket and I have big fingers. There we go. Now we start with our parachute again. Again, we have it folded. We're going to bring this in like so. And fold it up like that. Nice little package like that. Now we insert our shock cord. I may have to use a pencil again. Again, if you have small fingers, you're ahead of me. And then insert the parachute. Make sure there's nothing impeding on the nose cone going into the fuselage. Kind of roll it around, make sure it's free to come in and out, but kind of snug too, just like that. And now our rocket is ready to insert the motor. Now that the rocket is ready for the motor, we have a little small rocket motor compared to some of the others, and that simply goes into the thrust chamber like that, and it comes with this little cap. Instead of having a plug like we had on the other motors, this one actually kind of fits on and screws in a little bit. Like so, and you just kind of lock it in place, and now the motor is secure in the rocket. All right, so now the motor is in the rocket and we're ready to install the igniter. Again, keep the igniter wires separated on the end. Make sure that seats well into the motor. Kind of bend it out a little bit like that. And then we have our little plug that holds the igniter in place. Press that down. And now the rocket is ready to launch. Clear skies.